The Aztecs didn't fall to Spanish swords. They fell because they thought they couldn't lose. You've heard the myths. Better weapons, deadly germs, or a god-mistaken Spaniard. But the truth is sharper. Fear, arrogance, and blind overconfidence destroyed them from within. And that same trap still takes down powerful leaders today. This isn't just history. It's a blueprint for collapse and how you can avoid it. In 1519, Hernán Cortés landed on the shores of Mexico with just 500 men. He had no right to win, and yet, within 2 years, the Aztec Empire was gone. At that time, the Aztecs ruled most of central Mexico. They commanded tribute from dozens of tribes. They governed through fear, not loyalty, and they enforced that rule with blood, demanding thousands of human sacrifices each year. Their dominance was undeniable. But it came at a cost: isolation, resentment, and enemies at every border. Emperor Moctezuma II wasn't blindsided. He had intelligence, reports of foreign ships, bearded men, weapons unlike anything his people had seen. He understood the threat. But he hesitated. He gathered advisors, performed rituals, sent gifts, not out of generosity, but to stall, to buy time, to delay a decision he refused to make. While Moctezuma stood still, Cortés advanced. He learned the terrain. He studied the cracks in the empire, and he began recruiting those who had suffered under Aztec rule. Moctezuma's mistake wasn't ignorance. It was certainty. He believed his empire couldn't be touched, and that belief blinded him to what was coming. Most believe the Spanish defeated the Aztecs, but in truth, the empire turned on itself. By the time Cortés reached the capital, his force had grown to over 100,000, but only a fraction were Spanish. The rest were indigenous allies, former subjects of the Aztecs, who had waited years for a chance to rise. The Tlaxcalans, the Kempolans, entire peoples who saw Cortés not as a conqueror, but as a key to their freedom. The Aztecs had built an empire on fear. But fear is brittle, and when people are given another path, they take it. Power without loyalty is a fortress made of sand. And the tide always comes. In November 1519, Cortés entered the Aztec capital, Tenochtitlan. It was a marvel of the world, a city built on water, guarded by narrow causeways, a natural fortress. The Spanish were surrounded, outnumbered, exposed. But Moctezuma didn't strike. He welcomed Cortés as a guest, offered him shelter, showed him the heart of the empire. Not because he trusted the Spanish, but because he trusted his own power too deeply. He believed the empire was untouchable, and that belief became its undoing. Cortés acted with precision. He took Moctezuma hostage, inside his own palace. There was no battle, no warning, just one clear move, and the heart of the empire was in foreign hands. Moctezuma didn't fight back. He didn't resist. He couldn't comprehend what had happened. The rules he had lived by no longer applied, and he had no answer. The belief in one's own invincibility is the last mistake made before the fall. By mid-1520, the situation had unraveled. A massacre of unarmed nobles ignited revolt. Disease swept through the city, and Moctezuma, once the most powerful man in the region, was struck down by his own people. The Spanish were driven out, but the Aztecs made the final mistake. They waited. Instead of pressing their advantage, they held back. They returned to old patterns. They believed the city would hold. But Cortés returned with ships. He cut off the lake, blocked supplies, and turned the island into a trap, The city starved, and still the Aztecs refused to surrender. They didn't fall with a roar. They crumbled in silence. The fall of the Aztec Empire is not just history. It is a mirror. Because success, when left unchecked, becomes blindness. And power, when built on fear, collapses the moment it's tested. The Aztecs were not defeated by weapons. They were defeated by hesitation, by arrogance, by the refusal to see change as a threat. That same pattern repeats itself today, in corporations that grow complacent, in leaders who stop listening, in systems built on fear instead of trust. True strength doesn't come from believing you can't lose. It comes from knowing you can and preparing anyway. The Aztecs fell because they believed they couldn't, and that belief cost them everything.